Governor, during your time at Guantanamo, did you witness any incidents?
No, not all. That's BS. No, totally BS.
Governor,
Yeah.
did you say you were present during those meetings? Is that
Who said that?
Detainees have told us that.
How would they know me? Okay, think about that. Do you honestly believe that's credible? So this is 2006. I'm a junior officer. Do you honestly think that they would have remembered me from Adam? Of course not. They're just trying to get into the news because they know people like you will consume it because it fits your preordained narrative that you're trying to spin.
That's Florida Governor Ron DeSantis responding to a reporter's question in Jerusalem yesterday about his time working at Guantanamo Bay. Now, according to The Independent, a prisoner alleged that DeSantis witnessed the force feeding allegedly endured by some of the inmates there on a hunger strike in 2006. The Florida governor was stationed on the base between March of that year and January of 2007 while he served as a JAG officer in the Navy Reserves.
I didn't want to answer it and then kind of pushed back as the reporter kept talking. So very interesting and fiery exchange there. Yeah. Okay, so DeSantis also being attacked on another front. That's the war with the mouse, Disney. DeSantis once said that his bout with Walt Disney Company would be just a short fight in stripping Disney of its magic business powers in the state of Florida. But a year later, and here we find ourselves, DeSantis is in a drawn-out conflict that at this time has really a long way to go because the lawsuit was just filed this week, and now Republicans, some of them are questioning a possible 2024 GOP's presidential nominee strategy and why they decided to go after woke Disney.
Let's talk about the legal and political components of the story. And here to talk about that is former Georgia Congressman Doug Collins. Also with us, Matt Schlapp, chairman of CPAC, also the author of Desecrators. Great to see you guys.
Hi, gentlemen.
Hey, great to be with you.
All right, so this is a topic that Kevin McCarthy is even being asked about. He was on CNBC. He's got his own bout going on with President Joe Biden on the debt ceiling, but he says that DeSantis should sit down with Disney and work it all out. I don't know, Congressman, what do you think? Let's take a look.
Why wouldn't you sit down and negotiate and talk? If there's differences, you can always find ways that you can solve this problem. If you think the only action is to go to court, I believe that's wrong in the places instead of solving it.
So what do you think about McCarthy's comments there and this quagmire DeSantis seems to be mired in?
I think the interesting thing about McCarthy is he's having to answer questions about it, which McCarthy doesn't want to do because he's having enough issues as he's got on his own in Congress right now. Look, I mean, DeSantis has made a stand. He's taken a hard stand against Disney. Disney has chose to go a legal route here, which, I mean, from a legal perspective, opens up a lot of interesting pathways here because, I mean, discovery, you're going to have a case that is drawn out. Look, I think at this point in time, DeSantis has sort of made his mark here. Sitting down is probably not in the cards at this point because of the past statements and also the moves that he's made. But it will become a pivot point, a talking point, however you want to, not just for the DeSantis campaign, but if he moves forward in this presidential run that he may or may not have at this point, it's going to become a conversation that others just like us are having to talk about.
Right, Matt, I wonder politically, because this going after Disney was sort of something as a success DeSantis could tout. Look what I'm doing for my state. If this lawsuit drags on, it gets costly, maybe things come out in discovery, could this end up being something he regrets?
Well, I want to dovetail off what Doug just said. I'm not sure DeSantis actually ends up running for president because if you look at all the polls, Trump is now up to the levels that he scored in the CPAC straw poll. And at that time, people are like, well, that's just artificially high. And now the race is literally there. He's in the 60s. And Ron DeSantis is a version of Trump in the sense that he's aggressive and, he's a little bit of a trash talker, as you just saw in that press conference in Israel. He's not afraid to give it back. But and I love the fact he's taken on woke corporations. Like anybody that gets soft on these woke corporations, let's face it, if Walt Disney was alive, he'd want to shut the Disney company down. He would be so ashamed. Remember, Walt Disney voted for Barry Goldwater in 1964 over Lyndon Baines Johnson. The last thing he wanted to do was turn our kids into a bunch of people confused about their gender. But I also think Ron DeSantis, he's the governor of a state. It's a lot of jobs. So I think McCarthy has a good point, which is keep pushing against this woke crap. At the same time, see if you can get them to back down and grow their business inside your own state.
Let's also talk about President Biden's job approval just after he told us all he was going to finish the job. Poll numbers not really bearing that out right now. 37% is where Joe Biden is right now. It's the lowest point he's been in the Gallup daily tracking presidential poll. They've been doing this for a long time. You can see some of the other historic references here. Only President Reagan was doing worse at this point. He's a little bit actually better, 38% over 37%. Of course, this is when things started to turn around for Ronald Reagan. We don't see any signs of that, do we, Doug?
No, we really don't. I mean, talking about approval ratings for Joe Biden is about like talking, fantasy things like, Easter Bunny and Santa Claus. I mean, it just doesn't exist. But here's the one thing that we have to go, and I know Matt is great at this as well. 100% of Democrats, for the most part, after it all comes together and they finally dispatch whatever they mockery of a primary process they're going to have, they're going to get behind Joe Biden because he's all they got. I had a Democrat the other day say, well, Joe Biden cleared the field for the most part. Well, there was no field to clear. I mean, it's like, really? This is where you're
there's a field now. There's a field now.
Right, RFK.
RFK, you look at the poll numbers for sure. And to Matt's point,
wait till the DNC gets a hold of that one. Wait till the DNC gets a hold of that
machine.
one.
Let me say something about Reagan's polls and Joe Biden's polls. First of all, we've had the death of polling, just like we've had the death of media and all these not good media, but mainstream media. So when you see Ronald Reagan's numbers there in the 30s, you can probably take that to the bank. When you see Joe Biden's numbers in the 30s, take 5 points off of it because they're spinning everything, just like they are with the economic numbers, to make Joe Biden look better. And I think RFK, Bobby Kennedy, coming out of the blocks already in the middle teens shows that maybe they're getting to know this version of Kennedy. But it also shows Democrats know Joe Biden, that dog won't hunt. But somehow they're going to make it seem like that dog is a killer and got a big kill. And then the number 2 person, Kamala Harris, my gosh, she's more unpopular than cancer. Let's just all of us who are Republicans, just smile. The Democrats are in a world of hurt. Things are going our way. This is a good moment for us. Let's let the man keep trying to talk because he's not doing such a good job.
Great to see you both, Doug Collins. We got to run, guys. I hate to cut you off there. We are totally out of time. We'll definitely have you back, though. Always more to talk about. These darn commercials we got to get to. Thanks, guys. Great to see you.
Doug, Matt, thanks, gentlemen.